in Coffee County since kindergarten, a little before kindergarten. I graduated from Coffee County Central High School. I now live on the same street that I went to high school on, and I love it. I love it. I love raising my children here. I love having my deep roots here. And I'm a person that is good at taking care of business, good at taking care of people, good at caring about people. And because I have those qualities, I feel like the way that I can give back to my community is by serving on the board of mayor and aldermen. I work hard. I care deeply. I think critically. And I listen actively. I can work with all kinds of different people, and I respect everybody immediately. All right?
10 seconds.
Thank you very much. I'm also punctual, so I'll wrap it up. I really appreciate all of you, and I would love your vote on August 6th. Holly McLaren, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. McLaren. Up next, we have Dana Douglas. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Dana Douglas. I'm running for city alderman. I'd like to thank Thunder Radio for putting this on this evening. The reason I've decided to run for alderman, I moved here in 2004 after I accepted a position with the city water and sewer department, which spanned 18 and a half years, actually a little over 20 years now after the second stint. But after the first stint, when we moved here, we were welcomed with open arms in this community. We raised our 4 children here. They went through the city school systems and eventually the county systems and graduated. They're all successful children now. We really love the community. And the main reason I decided to run for alderman, I have an extensive background in water and sewer infrastructure, operations, in all aspects that spans 30 plus years. And with that, I feel like I can bring a knowledge to it and an ability to it to be able to fix those problems that exist. And I'm not going to go to the 10-second mark. That's basically all I've got. My name is Dana Douglas. I'd appreciate your vote. And just remember me on election day.
All right, thank you so much for introducing yourselves. We're now going to move to some question and answers. So the way this is going to work order-wise is the person who went second, they'll move to first, third to second, and then the person who went first will go last this time. So Mr. Crossland, you're going to be answering this question first, and you'll have 2 minutes to answer. So my first question for all of you candidates, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen recently approved a $20 million bond to support water and sewer projects. What are your thoughts on how that money should be spent? Do you have any specific ideas? Go ahead, Mr. Crossland.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, one of the projects earmarked is a water tower for the northern part of the county to help increase water pressure and water flow for our customers out in that portion of the county. A sewer system is kind of like a marriage. You got to work at it every single day. And as soon as you get some parts of it fixed, there are older parts, especially in a city like Manchester, where in town, some of the parts of the sewer system are 80 years old. So we have to continue work on the manholes, especially down in the park, especially by the Duck River, to make sure that we keep those things under control. We've gotten a lot better, but we still have a lot of work to do. We have to focus on our sewer plant and make sure that we keep things repaired, to make sure that we keep things up to date, and that we rely on modern technology to continue to update our system. In a system our size, there's a lot of places where over the years theories have changed. You have a lot of what's I&I infiltration from rainwater into the sewer system. We have a lot of those opportunities to fix. And it's just a matter of continuing to chop down those issues. There are big projects. There are big projects on the horizon. The water tower kind of being at the top of the list. But again, I've been lucky enough for the past year to serve on the Water and Sewer Board and know
10 seconds.
that we have a lot of good people doing a lot of very hard work in that area, and we can only continue to improve.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Crossland. Up next, we're going to have Paul Thornton is going to answer next.
Thank you, Katie. The 20 million, it seems like a lot of money. And with my years of experience in the utility world, 20 million won't go that far. So it's very important that we implement a plan of action for the future. We need to know, we need to have a priority list, and we need to work with our engineering firm to create a list and work from that list. Our sewage plant currently that we have is, what I've been told by many people, it has the ability to take on double what it's doing. With that being said, the infrastructure feeding that sewage system needs, like Tommy said, we got some around this older part of town, we got a lot of lines and systems that has to be upgraded. And that's going to take time and money. So that 20 million sound like a lot, and it'll go a long ways, but we have to be smart on how we spend it and how we plan for the future with it. Because if you're not smart, we'll wake up and that 20 million will be gone, and we'll be wanting to come back to the taxpayers and say, hey, we need more money. And that's what we can't afford to happen. We've already experienced one water rate increase, and we certainly don't want to come back to Manchester and say we got to increase it another 30%, which is out of touch. So we have to work from a plan. We have to improve facilities when they go bad. We have to create a PM process, a preventative maintenance program, that we address these issues when they come about. So the 20 million sounds like a lot, but without a good plan, it won't last. So we have to improve our
10
infrastructure
seconds.
feeding our sewage system as we know it right now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Thornton. Next, we have Rocky Jones.
Okay, first, I'm not happy with the way that we took out this interest rate on this loan that we took out. I think we could have did a better job at getting that done. We cannot reactively manage our utilities. With nearly $20 million in new utility bonds, Manchester residents need a standard of strict fiscal oversight. First, we must ensure every single dollar of that bond money is directly tied to targeted capital improvement plans, specifically targeting inflow and infiltration to stop stormwater from overwhelming our sewer lines. Second, we need to restore a collaborative professional working relationship with TDEC to lift the moratorium and return local control over our development. Finally, we must implement a rigorous asset management program so we are replacing lines before they fail, not paying state fines after the damage is done. My background in federal planning and emergency management is built exactly on this: identifying vulnerabilities, budgeting strictly, and executing preventive plans. $146,000 state fine is a symptom of a larger systematic failure to proactively maintain our capital or critical infrastructure. We cannot reactively manage our utilities. With nearly $20 million in new utility bonds, Manchester residents need a standard of strict fiscal oversight. First, we must ensure every single dollar of that bond money is directly tied to targeted capital plans. Secondly, we need to restore a collaborative professional working
10 seconds.
with the TDEC. And this just didn't happen overnight. This was years of trying to save money and not paying for these fixes along the line. So we got like
All right, Mr. Jones, I'm gonna
$17.9
have to
million
cut you off there. Thank you.
in the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. We have Holly McLaren next.
All right, so I would focus on the manholes, number one, right? Because we say that like overflowing manholes, but think about what that really is, right? Sewage running down the streets. And Manchester deserves better than that. We a lot better than that. And so I want to focus on making sure that we don't have sewage running into the streets anymore. Let's fix that first. Let's fix some of these oldest pipes that we've heard about. I like a lot of what I heard down here, right? A plan, yes. And like the idea of fixing things before it gets broken. Good job, Rocky. If we've got money left over after that, the sewage plant needs help, definitely. We cannot afford to continue to get fined by the state, right? It shouldn't have happened in the first place, but it did. And I just want that $20 million to go towards making sure that we don't have any more of our money go to the state for these fines for things that we haven't taken care of yet, things that are hurting our environment and making Manchester a less pleasant place to live. So I'm fix the manholes, fix the sewage plant.
Thank you, Holly. All right, Dana Douglas is up next.
$20 million. To piggyback on what candidate Thornton says, it sounds like a lot. And to most people and everybody, it is a lot. But when it comes to the things that need to be done, it's just a drop in the bucket. If I were to, first thing I would look at to fix the problems with the sewer, to begin with, I would replace the main interceptor from Red Hill Church of Christ all the way to the sewer plant. I would upsize it, dang near double the size it is now, because now you have sections that are 30-inch, drops down to 15-inch. Well, you take 30 inches diameter of sewer going into 15-inch. Well, naturally, your manhole's going to overflow because you can only put so much water through a pipe. So, the sewer plant's not the problem. Like, candidate Thornton said, on dry flow, it's less than half its capacity. The problems you run into at the sewer plant is the I&I coming in. At times I've seen it 12, 14 million, and its rated capacity is 4.6. So, that's where I'd start. Yeah, we need to increase the pressure out at North Coffee area, but that's not getting us fined. People need pressure, but it's meeting the state minimum. The state minimum is 20 PSI, which I don't agree with, but, I wouldn't be happy either. But I mean, that's, we got to pick and choose until we can fix what needs, till we can get to the end goal. And
10 seconds.
that's fine.
All right. Thank you, Dana. All right, and we're going to go all the way back down there to Ben Lane.
Well, a lot of these guys have said a lot of what I was going to say. I tend to agree with Paul and Thomas and Dana down there. $20 million sounds like a lot, but it's really not. And our main issues are our sewer problem and our water pressure. And I think if a committee sat down and just made a plan on what to do and how to do it, that'd be a real good starting point. And I think you can't fix a problem until you diagnose it, and then you make a plan to fix it. You can't just, let me go do this. You have to plan. So I think if we plan for it, I think it could be very successful for the city.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our second question. And I noticed during our last round of questions, our live audience is kind of like, do we clap after they? Let's save one collective clap for the last person to answer the question so that we can keep the time moving. So the first person to answer my second question is going to be Paul. And then we're just going to move down the table and bounce back. So my second question is, Manchester City Schools has had a couple discussions with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen about building a new middle school Do you support a new school building being built? And what are your ideas to make the project financially feasible for the city and the school district? Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Katie. That's a pretty tough question, really. First thing needs to happen is the county and the city needs to come together and work on the numbers. School systems is all about numbers. How many kids we have in the schools? How many kids in the city currently do we have that are out of zone? For example, how many county kids are coming to the city? So if we put everybody where they belong and then look at the numbers, maybe we don't need to build a program as quick as we thought. I am for the education system. I've always supported it. I think that we could use a new middle school. The numbers, I think, from what I've been reading and talking, is we're growing at a rate of about 50 to 70 kids a year. So if we build a new middle school, which is what's needed, then it's what we do with the current schools. I'm not really in favor of moving kids. It's talk to go in pre-K through 3 at the current elementary schools and go 4 and 5 to the current Westwood Junior High or middle school. I'm not for that simply because it's been proven by many smart people in education will tell you anytime a kid has to change buildings, it affects their education. So I'm not in favor of moving isolating the 4th and 5th graders on their own building. So I think we need to encourage our school board to reconsider that idea. But to say that we need a new school, yes, we do, but it's all about the numbers. And we need to study the numbers, work with the school county, because they're in the process of building too. And, you know, we as a city pay county taxes too. So we have to be smart with our money, work with our county school board to make sure we're getting the biggest bang for our buck for our children.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul. Next, we have Rocky.
Okay, right now, I don't believe it's in the budget that they would be able to do this. The only way that they would be able to do this is take out more loans and or either possible raise more taxes. Right now, there's about $17.9 million in the budget right now that they have. But looking at a new city school building, we have all this infrastructure that needs to be fixed first and foremost. With new city school, there'd be new traffic, new roads, buses, employees, city services, not to mention, you know, parental choice if they take a voucher and stuff. Which they could possibly do here in the near future. A lot of school systems are downsizing because they don't have enough kids going to their school. I don't see that happening right now. However, I've listened about, you know, buses coming in from, you know, out there by, trying to think of the name of it, that school out there. Anyways, there's 2 schools out there that are coming into town, picking up kids and taking them away to the schools outside the city. So that's not good news. So we basically need to work on our infrastructure first, get the sewer and water and stuff paid off, and then possibly look down the road at getting a new city school. But at this point, I just don't see that there's money in the budget right now, unless we raise taxes. Do any of you want to raise taxes?
10 seconds.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rocky. Next, we have Holly.
I think if there's ever a time when we need to make something happen, try to, you know, squeeze blood from a stone, it's for our children. And so, yeah, I think we've got to get creative and figure out how to make this school happen for our children. It's funny that you mentioned vouchers. I think that's a valid point that people may be accepting vouchers and taking their children outside of our city. But I think they're less likely to do that if we have decent schools available for them, right? If parents want a choice in where to send their children, let's give them a good choice. Let's be the good choice for them, right? Because there's something about community pride that happens when you go to school in your city. I really like the idea, actually, that the school board brought to the BOMA, that this middle school could eventually, in the long term, maybe become a Manchester City high school. And I like that plan for the long term. I would have loved to have gone to, it's strange that we send our kids to city schools and then they go to county schools, and there's a big switch for them. And like Mr. Thornton said, right, that changing up of things, that affects kids. And even if it's not just building to building, any kind of change, if you move from the city system into the county system, when you merge with the county kids that you've never gone to school with before, that throws things off. But also, we would feel more pride if Manchester kids graduated from Manchester High School. So I think that a middle school is a step towards that in the long term. For money, I want to really, really make sure that we're fleshing out all of our grant opportunities that we possibly could be, and we don't leave any money on the table that we could be getting from the state or from federal grants.
Thank you. All right, up next we have Dana Douglas.
So it's kind of funny to me because this has been a discussion since, like I said earlier, we were welcomed in the community in 2004. And here we are 22 years later, and there's still a discussion of new schools, whether it's been a new high school, a new middle school. It's inevitable with growth. These things happen. The question is, where does the money come from? And because it's got to come from somewhere, it's going to have to come from grants, raising rates on taxes or water and sewer or whatever rates they've got to raise, which is never a favorable option. But in order to facilitate the growth, these things need to happen. And, like you say, the money has to come from somewhere. And that's the main thing. But it's been a discussion now, like I said, for like 22 years. And so, do we discuss it for another 22 years and we overload the schools and continue to overload them and add portable housing or portable classrooms and whatnot? At some point, a decision's got to be made to pull the trigger and build a new school.
All right, thank you, Dana. Next, we have Ben down there at the end.
Well, I think our children are our future and about the most important thing in a community. And I think a new school is definitely necessary. My daughters went to the middle school, and I went to the middle school. And I do know we need it, but I also think that we need to make sure that we got the money to do it, and we have the money secured to do it before we do it. And I also think we need to make sure we have the infrastructure in place to do it, and that we have the money to pay for that infrastructure before we do it. But I do definitely believe it needs to be done, and I believe it would be good for our community as long as there's proper planning prior to the execution of it.
All right, thank you so much, Ben. Up next, we have Thomas Crossland.
Okay, I'll answer the question directly. Yes, I support a new school. And not only do I support a new middle school, I support closing the Manchester City School loop and build a new high school, or build a high school in addition to the middle school. Now, will that be easy? Because I support that with no tax increase. The city of Manchester is financially sound. Okay. I think every citizen in this town should be proud of the financial situation in our town. The aldermen who have preceded me, Alderman Messick's in the room, and they have done a tremendous job in stapling down the financial stability of our town. Now we go forward. We go forward to do something that, I talked to a couple of city school teachers about this, and they said, I don't believe you. It's been talked about for a long time. I don't think it'll get done. Well, we're going to go to work on getting it done. Okay. I doubt that there's a person in this room who remembers when the last city school was built. They're all old. They're all very old. My father went to College Street where it sits right now. We need to do better. We can provide a better education. I believe in Dr. Vaughn. I believe in the city school board. Will it be easy? Absolutely not. But that's what we're talking about, right? I mean, we can all sit up here and say what our ideas are, but what are you going to get done? That's the question. And going to work, looking at alternatives. We have debt roll off. We have debt roll on. A city budget works no different than your personal budget or a business that I've got great a bit of experience with. But we have to be dedicated to doing what's right. Doing what's right is taking care of our children, providing a good education, and then being smart and creative to make the numbers work out.
All right, thank you. Let's give a round of applause. Now, I see we're running a little low on time, and I have faith in you guys that you can answer this next question within about 30 seconds. I know that sounds a little scary, but I think you can do it. So this one, Rocky is going to go first. Should the city impose a $10 per player fee on local sports leagues? Why or why not? Go ahead, Rocky.
I didn't hear the question.
Oh, so sorry. My question is, should the city impose a $10 per player fee on local sports leagues? Why or why not?
No. Why would we do that? We're financially stable as a city. You just heard it from one of the aldermen. So we have plenty of money. We don't have any infrastructure problems that we're having a hard time paying for. Sure. Why would we charge $10 to families that, the poverty level within Manchester is between 16 and 19%. That's not a good idea.
All right, Miss Holly.
I want to make sports cheaper, more accessible to people. There are people out there. I grew up and I couldn't afford to play sports, right? Like that stuff's expensive. There are a lot of people out there that can't do it. I think that we're pretty much at our limit there. And if we're voted for, if you vote for me and I win, my job is to represent the people. Everything that I've seen is nobody
5
wants
seconds.
this paid for. So if nobody wants it, I say no.
All right, Dana.
No, it might as well be a tax increase. Back before they voted out Little League, the actual official Little League charter, Little League's rules are a kid cannot be turned away due to the inability to pay. And we never turn children away. The league covered them if they couldn't afford it and they couldn't pay it. So the city should cover it if they can't afford to pay it. Their taxes
5 seconds.
cover the parks.
All right, thank you, Dana. Ben, I'm going to go to you.
No, there should not be an increase on anything. Parks should always be free to the taxpayers. We pay taxes so that we can have parks. We should not have to pay to go to the park that we already paid for.
All right, thank you, Ben. Mr. Crossland?
Absolutely not. That was an idea that was floated in a committee meeting that took on a life of its own and never got to BOMA. And I am confident in saying that it would never pass. I agree that we need to make youth sports more accessible, not less. And we have opportunities to, if more funding is needed,
5 seconds.
to make that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Crossland. And Paul, I think you're our last one.
No. I think the Little League is charging $75 a child right now to play. That's over and above what the city was wanting to do. Not the city, the rec department. The city, I feel confident, will vote that down. We are currently funding a lot of money towards the recreation through the tourism money, which is totally different from the regular budget. So my answer is no.
All right, thank you all. You did great. Let's give them a round of applause. And I I have the green light to do one more question. I am going to cut you guys down again to 1 minute this time because it's a little bit of a bigger question. So today, actually, the city broke the news that they will be pursuing litigation against a citizen who took out voluminous records requests over the past 3 years. I believe that announcement was made on the city's Facebook page. Was that the right thing to do? Why or why not? And we're starting with Holly.
Absolutely not. I can't believe we got to this point, right? The relationship between a city and her citizens should be free flowing and comfortable, right? The idea that our city cannot handle answering the questions of one citizen is ridiculous and not good enough. That's all I need.
All right, thank you, Holly. Next we have Dana.
I'll probably be shorter than her. The answer is no. And I got a question. Are we trying to hide something? I mean,
Right.
why are we not giving the people what they request? I mean,
All right, thank you, Dana. We're gonna go back down to Ben.
No, I think it's a bad look for our city, and it's kind of embarrassing as a citizen of Manchester that we're trying to sue somebody to ask for public records.
All right, Mr. Crossland, you're next.
I have publicly been in favor of the action. And the reason being, there are guidelines inside the state for the number of requests that can be made. That number has been exceeded greatly. And despite many attempts to reason, those attempts have fallen on deaf ears, and we haven't been able to find common ground. When your department heads come to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and ask for relief, I think they've earned our ears. And when you know the actual quantity and the actual amount of time that your city employees are putting into digging out paperwork as opposed to doing their jobs to support you, the question becomes a little murkier. So yes, I have been in support of
10
it,
seconds.
and will continue to.
All right, thank you, Mr. Crossland. Paul, you're next.
On the surface, no. But without knowing all the fine details, the current city policy and all this, there's a lot of unanswered questions that we don't have, that before we can make an educated decision whether there should be a lawsuit or should there not be one, it's really hard to answer without knowing all the ins and outs. But on the surface, no, there should be an effort made because a lawsuit is pretty serious. If you get to that point, it's kind of the last resort. So my answer is no, but I don't know all the details. And without knowing the details, I really can't give an educated opinion on that.
All right, thank you, Paul. And Rocky, I think you're the last one.
Absolutely not. This individual is a city watchdog, and she keeps them in line and their feet to the fire. Government transparency is not optional. It is the foundation of public trust. When disputes arise between city and its residents over records, the answer should never be to immediately weaponize the city's attorney's office at the taxpayer's expense. I absolutely support utilizing the state's comptroller's office of Open Records Council for free mediation. And then to prevent these bottlenecks in the first place, we need to modernize the Manchester records retrieval process by digitizing more records and documents and making capital plans, budgets, and meeting packets easily accessible online. Bang. Done.
All right, thank you guys so much. Let's give them a round of applause. I'm Katie Northcott, News Director here at Thunder Radio, and you just heard from 6 of 9 Manchester Alderman candidates. We are going to take a 5-minute break before we hear from our county mayor candidates, so I'm going to throw it back over to Thunder Radio. Live. Thank you for tuning in for our political forum for the August general election. Up on the stage with me, I have our Coffee County mayor candidates. Closest to me is incumbent Dennis Hunt. And then we have Mark Messick, our challenger. Third candidate, Kamai Rozier, is not here today, as far as I know. But we're going to go ahead and get started with some opening statements. Gentlemen, you have 1 minute to introduce yourself, and we're going to start with Mark whenever you're ready.
Well, all right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Messick, and I'm running for county mayor. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Gosford, Tennessee. That's a suburb of Beech Grove, in case y'all don't know where that's at. My family were farmers. My grandparents were farmers, and I farmed for 30 years or more. Look, for the last 8 years, I've been an alderman for the city of Manchester. For the last 6, I've been vice mayor, served on just about every committee that there is in the city. I'm running because I love our mayor. He's a good guy, but I think we ought to have a little change. Look, I believe in managed growth. I don't believe that somebody ought to tell us how to sell our land. I would like to phase out that 5-acre rule.
10
I
seconds.
believe kids are our future. We ought to invest in them, and I appreciate your vote.
All right, thank you, Mark. We're going to do the same thing we did for the last one and save our applause until both of them have answered the question. So, Dennis, could you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you. My name's Dennis Hunt. I'll do Alderman Crosland one notch better. I was actually born above Baker Brothers drugstore. He was born in a hospital. I have been a Coffee County native my entire life. I worked for my uncle at Hunt Brothers Garage. Then I started my own business. I didn't inherit it or buy it. I built it. Those are attributes that has helped me manage Coffee County government efficiently. And I think I have the track record to prove that statement. I do want to thank the host of the church and Thunder Radio for putting this on. We don't have a room full, but there's a lot of people here, and thank you very much for showing up.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, I'm going to ask you guys 4 different questions, and we're just going to alternate who's going first. So, Dennis, you'll be first answering this first one. You'll have 2 minutes. The question is, just give us some of your thoughts about growth in Coffee County, and what is your position on the 5-acre minimum?
Well, I think my position on the 5-acre minimum parcel, everybody must understand it applies only to the A1 district. The A1 district was set aside for agricultural activities along with some residential developments, but not mass large subdivisions. It was not intended for that. The people that set up our zoning resolution years ago had a vision for all the different districts. The A1 was not a district that was to be chopped up into 0.8 of an acre lots. So having said that, the 5-acre minimum parcel has been working perfectly. Our Board of Zoning Appeals has been granted by resolution a 4th power, which is the ability to answer a special question variance. I think they're addressing one tonight, as a matter of fact, but they've had about 25 applications in the last year, and they have approved 21 of those, and I'm pretty good. I think I'm accurate on that number. So the minor subdivisions in the A1, you have the ability to get that accomplished through a special question variance that is presented to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
All right, thank you, Dennis. Mark, it's your turn.
Look, I think the 5-acre rule is wrong. I don't think it's fair to the people that are selling land, and I don't think it's fair to the people that are buying land. And I don't think it's right that you have to go before a board to find out if you can split your land up and sell it. That should just be something that should just be there already. You should know that you can. And the A1 zoning is the biggest part of the county. Now, I don't believe, I'm like that, I don't believe we need a 100 house subdivision in the middle of a cornfield in Hillsborough or in the middle of a pasture field in Beech Grove. I think we need to do this with a little bit of common sense. We need to work on it a little while. I think we need to get citizen input in how we do it. But I think there are ways that we can manage growth, increase our tax base, and do it so that most everybody will be happy and we won't have to ask the government whether we can sell our land or not.
All right, thank you, Mark. Let's give him a round of applause. All right, this is my second question, so we're going to have Mark answer this one first. The County Commission recently voted to adopt a 12-month data center moratorium. Do you support this decision, and what should the county's data center regulations look like?
Listen, this is pretty simple. I don't think Coffee County needs a data center at all, period. Not 12 months or not 24 months. I'm 100% behind that. And that's about all I have to say on that. It's just pretty easy.
All right, thank you, Mark. Next we have Dennis.
I'm glad to hear him say that because recent remarks of a Manchester City alderman got zero responses from the rest of the aldermen in that room. So having said that, the Planning Commission has reviewed this. This is a subject that is sweeping the nation in an unprecedented rate, much like I would have to compare it to the coronavirus. It is everywhere. The states, the cities and counties across this nation are looking at moratoriums, outright bans, which I personally have voiced my opposition to using the word ban because data centers are a legal activity. All of our properties, all our zoning districts that we have allow legal activity. So we had to choose a zoning district to place each legal activity. Our A1 district had language in it, line number 6, regarding utilities, communications, internet providers, all of that was in our A1 district. That was very alarming because if you were to put allow data centers in the rural areas, it would not be, it would affect the quality of life. So we had to address that. Planning Commission has adopted, we actually approved by the county legislative body now an amendment that puts data centers in our M2 special impact district. So we have already officially said this is where they will be. Okay, they cannot be an RS1, C1, C2,
10
M1,
seconds.
or A1. So we have adopted that. The conditions for those special exception uses are yet to be compiled, but our Planning Commission is working on that.
All right, thank you, Dennis. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, and we're going to start with Dennis for this question. Again, you have 2 minutes to answer. The county passed a budget in June that leaves the county in a projected deficit of around $2 million. Do you believe this was a responsible decision? Why or why not? And if not, what would you do differently?
Great question. And that question comes from people just not understanding how the budget process works. Coffee County government projects how much they are going to spend, the expenditures. We project those numbers at an elevated rate for safety. We project our revenue intake lower than we really expect. So we use what's called deficit budgeting. Historically, we have only, in the last 10 years, we have only went to deficit spending. There's a difference between deficit budgeting and deficit spending. Deficit spending is when you actually spend more than you take in. That's only happened twice, and it's only been a very small, minute amount of money that has happened. So I hope that answers the question for everybody that thinks that's a bit. We've done it every single year for the last 10 years. We project high expenditures and it project lower revenue, and it works.
All right. Thank you, Dennis. Mark, it's your turn.
Look, I don't know whose bright idea it is to over project one and under project another. But if I'm elected mayor, I want a budget administrator that can project accurately so that I'll know up front and everybody else will know up front where we are and what we can expect. I don't think we should ever pass a budget that's not balanced. It's just not the way to do things. That's not good. And I think that we can balance our budget. I think there's money laying out there in the budget that could be used to cover that deficit that we have. $7.5 million surplus is not a lot of money for a county with a $31 million budget. You know, the state says you need 6 months surplus in reserve. 6 months surplus on $31 million is $15.5 million. It's exactly twice what we have. I think we need to work on our budget and our budget process.
And actually, since Dennis is currently sitting in office, did you have any response to what Mr. Messick just said, or are you good? You have 30 seconds.
Our track record speaks for itself. You would wear out the Budget and Finance Committee asking for budget amendments every 2 weeks. If you see somebody needs a little money that they didn't project back in June, and it just was wasteful time and administrative costs having the committee come in to do budget amendments. We avoid budget amendments by doing deficit budgeting.
All right, that was right at 30 seconds. And then Mr. Messick, you still had about 30 or 45 seconds left.
All right, I'll make this quick, simple. I've been with the city for 8 years. We have our projections are accurate. We have 2 times a year that we meet and pass budget amendments. It doesn't happen every month, every week. So I still stand with what I say.
All right, let's give them another round of applause, please. All right, I want to keep talking about money. So within the county, there has been discussion about getting a new roof on the Manchester Library, building a new Justice Center. There's these talks about, maybe Manchester City Schools needs to expand, maybe Coffee County Schools needs to expand. What are your ideas for making these projects fit into the budget? For example, do we need to stagger them, or what's your vision for getting all of these things done? We're going to start with Mark for this question. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. If the library needs a new roof, we need to put a new roof on the library. I think we're correct when we say we need new schools. I think we need to build a new school for Hickerson Station. That school's been there since 1947, and I know the age of a building doesn't have an awful lot to do with it, but that school's crowded and it's kind of ratty. I'll just tell you, I've toured that school, and we do need to do better. I think, of course, education should be our number one priority, our children. If we've got to have the money to do these things. And if we don't grow, we'll never have the money to do these things. We've got to have some growth so we can put some money back in the bucket. We'll expand our tax base. We'll get a little more money. Sooner or later, we'll have some money that we can build a school. We can put a roof on the library. We can have a little money to spend. We've got 8 years ago, we had $3 million surplus in the city. Now we've got 16. Look, we can give we can afford things in the city that we couldn't afford 3 years ago. We can give the ball fields a little extra money if we need to. We can put roofs on our buildings if we need to. And we should be able to be in the same situation in the county. And it won't be tomorrow, but it can happen.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Dennis, I'm going to pass it to you.
Yeah, the library, that was a sad situation regarding that, but when you're doing capital improvements and you have to go through a bid process, a lot of times the lowest bid is not the best bid, but in county government trying to protect taxpayer dollars, there's always that propensity to choose the lowest bid for all your projects. And a lot of times it will bite you in where you sit down. So the library is an example of that. We put a cheap roof on there and we should not have. There's actually talk, I don't know that I've weighed in on it at all, but there's talk of having, much like the joint in the joint park, we now have the Coffee County Health Department, and all citizens from both municipalities use that one along with the rural residents. I've heard a couple commissioners discussing the fact that they would like to see a joint library, like put a state-of-the-art facility out there in a more rural setting and have one library for the whole county. So that is something that you may see pop up. I don't know if it will or not. But having said that, that is the reason for the library. Schools, I would like to say something about growth. Residential growth, any individual that has served in a governing position knows that residential growth does not pay for itself. The minuscule property taxes generated by a home that produces children that go to our schools, more cars that use our roads, it does not pay for itself. You have to lean on the
10
legacy
seconds.
taxpayers. The individuals that have been here all their life are the ones that have to help prop up residential growth.
All right. Thank you both. Let's give them a round of applause. All right. I know I said 4 questions, but we're running a little ahead of schedule. So I have one more for you guys. Dennis, I'm going to have you go first. During your campaign for the primary, I remember, Dennis, you said you talked about potentially selling the conference center. Are you still in support of that? And then to Mark, would you support the sale of the conference center? Why or why not?
If we're ahead of schedule, can we ask you some questions?
No.
Okay, the conference center. That has been that's been one of those hotbed topics for many, many years. I'm definitely support selling, getting the Coffee County taxpayers 50% investment in that facility back to better invest. We just talked about a new library. Real quickly, we had unprecedented. Last week we had a ribbon cutting for a brand new health department on Thursday. Health department on Thursday, a TCAP facility on Friday, and a new animal control facility on Saturday. That's unprecedented in Coffee County. 3 brand new structures. Okay, the conference center. Tullahoma taxpayers, you better think about this. Your county property taxes have been invested in that 50% that Coffee County owns. Manchester City, your Coffee County property taxes have been invested in that county 50%. Rural residents, your county property taxes is invested in that 50%. Then Manchester City property tax payers, they've invested in the Manchester City. The Arrowheads Aerospace Museum, if that was a governmental owned property that we went through the process, chose a good auction company. It wasn't this guy, but we did get we chose between 3 different companies, Coffee County realtors and auction companies.
10 seconds.
They auctioned off. Are we still ahead?
We're not that
So-
far ahead.
Anyway, we auctioned off that property that brought $2.5 million. The people bought it, bulldozed down. Now the new Wawa is going in. That is a private sector that will bring in property taxes and sales tax. So I feel the same thing can happen with the conference center.
All right, thank you. Dennis went about 20 seconds over, so you have 2 minutes and 20 seconds
All
to
right.
answer, Mark.
Thanks, Katie. Listen, this is pretty simple for me. I will say this before I start, just to preface this a little bit. For 21 years, the conference center has been a thorn in our side. It's cost us money every year. Now, we've changed the way the city has managed the conference center, and we've changed the way we manage it. And believe it or not, we're actually making money. Okay? Having said that, I think the city would be a perfect prospect to sell our 50%, the county's 50% too, if they're interested in it. I'm interested in selling the county's 50% of the conference center to someone. I'd like to see it continue under the management of the Manchester City because I think they're doing a fine job. But yeah, I'm all about selling it, and I'm all about selling any other property that we have sitting around. You drive by the old high school, and there's a whole yard full of trucks and trailers and cars. And some of those I know we can't sell, but some of those I know we can. And we need to sell that too. It's not doing us any good. It's not a good way to manage money. So I don't know if I have answered that, used up my time or what, Katie, but I think I'm pretty well through, okay?
All right, that's perfect. Thank you, Mark. Round of applause, please. All right, you guys have done what no one's ever done before and ran me out of questions. So I'm going to give you a 2.5 minute closing. How does that sound?
That's cool.
All right, we're going to start with Mark for that one, I believe.
All right, I got to put my glasses on because I made a few notes here, and I'm getting old, and I just don't see as well as I used to. But I'd like to thank everyone that's been involved in doing this. Thunder Radio, Steve Jernigan for sponsoring it, Steve West for the building. I'll tell you, that man is a treasure to this county. And I'd like to thank Mayor Dennis Hunt we run a clean race, and I appreciate that more than you guys know. I want to thank everybody that showed up tonight. I want to thank everybody listening on the radio at home. And I'm going to tell you guys, early voting starts tomorrow. If you want a ride to the polls anytime during early voting, I don't care if you vote for me or if you vote for Dennis, my number is 931-607-7653. Don't call me, but text me, okay? Text me, and me or my team will get you to the polls to vote. I promise that, okay? Listen, to wind this thing up, I think too much of politics today is choosing sides and then fighting over issues. And I think most of y'all are tired of that, and I am too. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want safe roads, we want good schools, we want reliable infrastructure, and we want opportunities for our children and a strong future for Coffee County. That's why I'm asking for your vote. Together, we can come together, and we look forward to the future with hope. I would appreciate your vote, and I do appreciate the time that you spent here tonight. Thank you very much.
All right, Dennis, 2.5 minute closing, please.
Okay. I'm like Mark, I'm going to use some glasses now that I'm actually going to read something, but it's not too complicated. I've actually, all the data center technology and issues that all of us have been discussing, you hear AI. There's AI data centers, and there probably are other types of data centers, but my closing remarks, I'm actually using AI for my closing remarks. AI, another initiative. I identify problems and I fix them. And there's multiple examples of that. My tenure of being a county commissioner for 14 years, now the mayor. AI, agricultural industry. I support our agricultural industry. It's the largest industry in the state of Tennessee. It produces $103 billion into our state's economy. AI, acquired intelligence. That's our school system. We need to support our schools and our students that are in our school systems and in that new TCAP facility that are acquiring intelligence. AI, avoiding influencers. I can't be influenced by special interest groups or the people that throw a lot of money around trying to get elected officials to do their bidding. AI, absolute integrity. I don't lie to you. I'm transparent. I tell you the truth. I tell you what's going on. I travel. I've never voted for a friend or myself for that would put a county tax dollar in my pocket or a friend's pocket. AI, always interested. I take phone calls daily from the constituents around this county, and I listen to what they have to say. And if I possibly can, the mayor has very little power, but if I possibly can, I do try to help all of the constituents and taxpayers of this county. I am interested.
10 seconds.
AI, attacking individuals. I use social media, but you will never find a post of mine that attacks.
Please
I
wrap it up,
use
please.
my social media as a tool, not a weapon. Thank you. I do appreciate your vote on August and 6th and the early voting. Thank you.
All right, for our listeners, I'm Katie Northcott, the news director here at Thunder Radio, and you just heard from Mark Messick and Dennis Hunt, our Coffee County mayor candidates. We're going to take about a 5-minute break, and then we're going to hear from our Tullahoma alderman candidates. So for our live audience, I need all of my Tullahoma alderman candidates to join me up here so we can draw some numbers to get you guys into groups. Passing it back to Thunder Radio.
teams to reach your street. I'm tired of watching the city approve project after project with no plan to maintain what we already have and no plan to pay for what comes next. I'm tired of finding out where my money and your money went after it's already spent. No explanation, no warning, just the bill. I'm not here with slogans. I've got more experience than anyone else in this race and more than most on the board sitting there right now. I've served 2 full terms. I don't need on-the-job training. I don't need a year to figure out how the room works. I'm be ready day one because I've already done the job. And that means that I know how it works. And I know how quiet it stays when it shouldn't. Here's my standard, and it's simple. Roads, drainage, core services first. A maintenance plan and a funding plan before we break ground, not after. A budget built on essentials, not extras, and a straight answer in public every single time we spend your money. That's it. There's no bull. The developer builds it. You're maintaining the world around it. That's backwards, and I want to fix it. It's your roads, your money, and your town. I'm Daniel Berry, and I'd appreciate your vote.
All right, thank you, Daniel. And like our other alderman forum that we did, if our live audience would hold your applause until after everyone has answered the question, that's how we're going to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and have Mike Dent introduce himself.
Okay, thank you. My name is Mike Dent, and I'm running for alderman in Tullahoma because Tullahoma has been really great for my family and me, and I would just like to give back to the community. I've been in the community for over 10 years. I've got lots of experience. I'll go over a little bit of it. I won't get too tedious on you, but I do have the experience that would allow me to be a very effective leader, I think, on the board of mayor and aldermen. I did 20 years in the Air Force. They put me through school, and I have a degree in chemical engineering from Purdue. And I served 10 years in the Air Force as a navigator. And then the last half of my career was in acquisition. I was in program management, where I managed numerous multi-million-dollar programs. One of them was the engine development for the B-2 bomber. Another one was after I retired, I worked for General Dynamics as a principal engineer, and we did prognostic development for the Air Force Research Laboratory. Now, I know all that sounds kind of boring, but the reason I bring that up is because program management skills, though I've not been on the BOMA before, this is my first attempt at a public office, but being a program manager, it teaches you how to deal with a challenge every day. You have to adapt to changing environments. I've had to mitigate and resolve problems between employees. I've had to deal with shrinking budgets. I've had to reach, our group reach consensus. So I think all of these attributes, I know all of these attributes are things that I could use to
10
meet
seconds.
the challenge that will be presented to our BOMO over the next 4 years. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike. Brandon, if you would please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Brandon Champion. I'm an instrumentation technician at Arnold Air Force Base. First and foremost, I am a husband and a father. I love my 4 kids to death and adore my wonderful wife. I believe in transparent government. I want to make sure we are spending our money wisely within the town. And I'm looking for smart growth for Tullahoma. And that's pretty much what my goals are.
All right, thank you so much, Brandon. Let's give him a round of applause. All right, I'm going to move to our first question. You're all going to have 2 minutes to answer. And the way we're going to do the order is the first person will move to third, the second person to first, and the third person to second. So Mike, you'll be answering this question first. And Brandon actually gave me a great segue because my first question is, what does the phrase smart growth mean to you? And do you think Tullahoma is currently experiencing smart growth? Mike, you take it away.
Okay, thank you. Smart growth. I think I would use the term plan growth. Maybe it's just a terminology thing, but I think we need to plan our growth, and we have been doing that. We have, you probably heard, or maybe not, our controversy over a 2045 plan. That's a very comprehensive plan. Also, I did want to share with you that there's concern about can the infrastructure handle the growth, all right? So growth, our average growth in Tullahoma over the last 10 years has been about 0.56% per year, all right? Our sewage capacity is, the sewage plant is only running at 50% capacity. Our water storage, we can store 4 million gallons of water, and then our daily usage is only 350,000. In terms of electricity, we average about 30 megawatts per day. Excuse me, per day. And then peak load is 75, but our capacity is 200. So those are a lot of numbers, but I just wanted to emphasize that the city has been looking at what it takes for growth. What we haven't done is put together a plan for the specific growth. And that's something we need to do, but I'm probably running out of time, right?
Oh, you have about 30 seconds.
Oh, okay, okay. So back to this comprehensive plan. That's not really a plan. It's more of a vision. What we need is a strategic plan. And the strategic plan, if you accomplish it correctly, if you look at who your
10
customers...
seconds.
Okay. I'm saying we're in pretty good shape as far as that goes, but we still have some more work to do. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike. Brandon, you're up next.
Yes, smart growth to me means making sure that our natural resources aren't affected whenever we have new things come in, whether that's replacing trees or making sure waterways don't get diverted and the natural habitats of the animals that we have. I also think that when we have new buildings and stuff built, we need to have ADA compliant sidewalks and other accessible modes for people to get to and from the road and the business.
All right, thank you, Brandon. And Daniel, if you'll wrap us up on this question.
Tullahoma strategic plan was done while Mayor Cope was in office. That was early 2000s, late 90s. We don't have that in hand. It's something that the city needs to be doing. Your comprehensive plan that was brought up here, that is your vision for the growth. That's one of the things that the state asks you to do, right? It says when Tullahoma grows, you get together as a community and you say, we want farmland here, we want apartments here, we want this here. This is how we see the city growing over the next 20 years. That's not just an agreement with the citizens. It's an agreement with the commercial and the businesses that we're trying to recruit to Tullahoma. It's an agreement with the developers. So when we pull our comprehensive plan and we kind of leave it to really whatever the BOMA wants to decide that day, yes, we've got our ordinances and our zoning ordinance, but there's nothing to guide that. They're going to tell you that every rooftop grows the tax base. That's the biggest lie in local government. I agree with our county mayor here. Here's what they don't say. That rooftop doesn't just send a tax check. It sends cars onto your roads, water into your drainage, wear and tear on everything that the city already maintains. For every dollar that a residential rooftop brings into the city of Tullahoma, it costs about $1.50 to maintain that. Schools are about 60% of that cost right there. Commercial, on the other hand, it's about 30 to 40 cents of every dollar that they're giving to the city that they're taking. So you're netting 60 to 70% there. More rooftops doesn't mean more money in the bank. They mean that that has to be maintained with the same budget off the backs of the people that are already here. That's not growing a tax base. That's growing a tab. If a new development actually paid for itself, your roads would be getting better, not worse. If you look
10
around
seconds.
the city of Tullahoma, they're not. Growth should pay for growth and rooftops should pay for themselves is a story they tell you right before they hand you the bill.
All right, thank you, Daniel. Let's give these gentlemen a round of applause. All right, this next question I'm going to have Brandon answer first. So, a couple of you guys already touched on the recently adopted 2045 comprehensive plan. And I would like for all of you to expand a little bit more on that. Do you think the comprehensive plan supports the city's long-term well-being? Why or why not? And what would be a better way to support the city's long-term well-being if you don't like the comprehensive plan? So, Brandon?
I support the comprehensive plan. A lot of people who are smarter than I am put a lot of work into that plan. And I don't know anything that I could add to the plan to make it any better. And if that's the way that Tullahoma wants to go, its citizens wants to look forward to what Tullahoma is going to be looking like, I'm for it.
All right, thank you, Brandon. We're going to move to Daniel.
So here's a little background. This 2045 plan actually started as a Tullahoma 2040 plan several years ago. it was in my second term that had finished. We had spent about $260,000 on that plan. We had hundreds and hundreds of hours of community events where citizens came out and they said, this is where we want houses to go. This is where we want commercial to go. This is where we want farms to go. This is where we want these things to go. That plan failed at the time, so we put together another committee. This committee spent 2 years back in the community working on this plan, hundreds of hours of city staff's time. It comes back, it passed. It passed. The ordinance was passed twice, so it became law. Then in one meeting, during comments, during an agenda, one of the aldermen said, hey, I want to throw an item on the agenda to remove this 2045 plan. No notice to the public. They botched that. They tried to repeal an ordinance with a resolution in the same meeting that they added it to the agenda. That's not how it works, but that's what they're doing up here in the city of Tullahoma. And that's the kind of bull that has to stop.
All right, thank you, Daniel. Mike, if you would give us your answer, please.
Okay, I think it's a good plan. I looked it over, but I would like to go back to my original statement that I think it's more of a vision, all right? Nothing in that plan tells us how to accomplish what's in it. In that plan, you have a new high school being proposed. In that plan, you have a facelift on one of the elementary schools. You have a new fire department. You have a downtown revitalization, all right? All that is good. It's great for the community, but we don't have a way to get there, all right? And I've mentioned strategic plan. It's kind of people use it a lot, but I've had experience with strategic planning, and it's more of a formula than, it's not a crapshoot. I mean, if you understand what your objectives are, and then you pull together the stakeholders, everybody together. I mean, we've got people working in community revitalization that are doing good work, but they're off on their own, and it's not a combined group. You get your group, and then you decide, you explore different concepts, okay? You don't just go for what you think is the right answer. You know what you want, but you got to figure out how to do it. And then you do risk mitigation in terms of cost, schedule, performance. I won't go any further, but I just think the plan is good, and I think if we approach how to implement the plan, Tullahoma will be better off. And someone in here said something earlier about enticing our young folks that graduated off to school, entice them to come back. If we put an event center or revitalize their downtown, that will bring them in. That will bring other young families in to start their careers
10
and
seconds.
raise their families. So, yep, I'm a fan of the plan. So.
All right, let's give them a round of applause, please. All right, so we're back up to Daniel. You're going to be answering this question first. And I want to go back to kind of what you were talking about with transparency with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. You know, Daniel especially has been a critic of how they've handled some things this year. So I'd love to hear all of you guys' perspectives on how the Board of Mayor and Aldermen can improve transparency and public relations. Daniel, whenever you're ready.
I think first step is to learn the job, learn how to do the job, right? You need to learn how to pass an agenda, how to motion on agenda, how to handle a second, just kind of the basics, right? Showing up and doing the job. Number two is you have those conversations in the boardroom. If I'm spending your money, you need to hear the conversation about it. That doesn't need to happen. If I'm firing your employees, if I've got issues with the city administrator, that stuff doesn't need to happen behind the guise of an executive session. Executive sessions are used when there's a legal matter. There's a very small window that you can do those things in. So you can't just call. Number two, we've got a divorce attorney running municipal law right now, and that's got to stop because our attorney is leading us down a terrible path, right? It's gotten us into more trouble and more. This is the second time they've had to step back and do something that they voted on because they did the wrong process. So step one, learn the job. Step two, have the conversations in public. Step three, quit being shady.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Mike, you are up next.
Okay, thank you. I agree with accountability 100%. But the way I would approach that would be maybe a more positive and unified approach. What I'd like to see is the BOMA hold themselves accountable. All right. I mean, there are definitely things we need to work on. But I'd like to see at the beginning of each new session, the BOMA set targets, objectives, things that they plan to accomplish over the next 1, 2, and 4 years, and then hold themselves accountable to the citizens whenever we meet, whether it be quarterly. I think doing that type of approach not only keeps us on our toes as BOMA members, but I think it puts Tullahoma in a very positive light, and I think that will draw attention, good attention to us. It will inspire investments, the right kind of investments that we want, and while we're doing that, it will grow our economy. So that's my answer.
Thank you, Mike. And Brandon, if you would answer the question, please.
All righty. As far as transparency, like not hiding anything, and how do I put it? The public relations part, a lot of the discussions that are had during the meetings, they have during the study sessions, which is also open to the public. And it seems like you would be more respectful of everybody's time if you leave the debates into the study session and stuff like that, other than bring it up during a meeting. That's how I think that public relations would improve.
All right. Thank you, guys. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, Mike, you'll be the first to answer this question. The Tullahoma Airport has come under a lot of scrutiny over the past year due to a fuel spill, and then there's been quite a bit of turnover in the manager position over the past year. Sorry, I lost my place. Do you think the airport is in a good place now? Why or why not? And if not, what would you improve about how the airport is run?
Okay, thank you. I'll tell you, I'm not an expert on the airport, but I can tell you some things I do know about it. The airport is a very valuable aspect of our town. I mean, they have approximately 30,000 flights out of there every year. The BOMA currently has a very active alderman member as not a representative, but he participates in their meetings. So he is there to keep the rest of the BOMA informed on what's going on. And I would just say that proper oversight by the BOMA is important, but it's not our job to lead these different committees and the Chamber of Commerce, TADC, whatever. They're in charge of their own personal business, but we should be there to see what's going on, and if things are going awry, we look into it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Brandon, you're next.
The Tullahoma Airport unfortunately did have some major hiccups recently. Uh, we do own the Tullahoma Airport, so it does come down to the taxpayers to foot that bill. There's been mistakes, and the current BOMA has taken a lot of steps to remedy that, including hiring experts that I can't even scratch the surface of what half of that stuff they talk about means. So I think it's going in a good direction and support what's going on.
All right. Let's, oh, Daniel, sorry, I almost skipped you. All right. Daniel, could you answer the question, please?
I think this goes back to transparency. The biggest issue with the airport scenario was it was kind of tucked away and hidden from the start, right? We were lied to about what it was going to cost. There was a giant fuel spill that nobody said anything about. For 2 weeks, everybody wondered what was happening over there when they had the road shut down. Nobody said a word to anybody about it. Mistakes do happen, right? Everybody makes mistakes. In this case, it was an employee who left, I believe, a bucket sitting on the handle. The wind caught it and opened the valve. Fortunately, Life Flight came in and they saw it at midnight after thousands of gallons of fuel spilt and creeped into the land around there. It ended up costing the taxpayers, we were initially told $600-something thousand. It ended up costing us around $750,000. That was the last we heard. I don't know if we can believe that that's the end. Mistakes happen, but what nobody did is nobody stood up and said, we messed this up. Instead, what happened is the airport authority, the airport board, blamed it on the city. The city did nothing about it. What the city actually did is tried to reappoint the exact same board members to the board that oversaw this. It turns out people weren't paying their leases. They weren't collecting money on leases. We've got the parachuting and the skydiving. We didn't have a proper license to be doing the skydiving. So we've been doing that illegally for years. And I still don't know if that problem's solved or not. My understanding is they were told that if we didn't let them do it, continue to do it, that they were going to dump some gossip on some of the other things that were going on. We were letting people prepay not by like number of gallons of fuel, but by the price. So they locked in, say it was, this is a made up number,
10 seconds.
75 cents. It was a debacle. They put the exact same people in charge. So is it getting better? I don't know. Is it an asset? Yes, but we need to do something about it.
All right. Thank you. And now we can give them a round of applause. All right, this is going to be my last question for you guys before I give you a chance to do a closing statement. So during the budget discussion in June, the idea of absorbing the Coffee County Senior Center under Tullahoma Parks and Recreation came up. Do you support the city absorbing the Senior Center under its Parks and Recreation Department? Brandon, you'll be the first to answer.
The senior center is a very important tool that's in the community. Gives our hardworking senior citizens who have earned that time off to go and enjoy themselves. And I think that it's a good idea for the city to absorb it and continue to let activities go on.
All right. Thank you, Brandon. We will go to Daniel.
I'm in general against government absorbing things that private or nonprofits that can do themselves. But in this case, I do believe that this is a good idea. The senior center provides an extremely valuable asset in our community. It is needed. The city owns that property. The city is paying for the building. The city is paying for those repairs. You're already footing the bill. So our Parks and Rec department, I think, has done a phenomenal job. Jeff Dameron, who is now our city administrator, has worked with JP Kraft over there, and they've got a pretty good running ship overall. And so I think absorbing that into the city of Tullahoma will only enhance those services for a pretty decent sector size of the population of the city of Tullahoma.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Mike, if you would bring us home on that question.
All right. I think there's a compromise that would be good for this situation. I think the senior center, the folks that are there now, I think they could still maintain their nonprofit status and manage that aspect of it, the program. But it's my understanding that the city could maintain that building. I don't think they're fully maintaining the building right now. And I think the city and the seniors, they started to get together. There was a good spirited conversation at the last BOMA meeting, maybe the one before that. So I think there's room for the two parties to come together to reach agreement.
All right. Thank you, guys. Let's give them a round of applause. All right. So we're going to go back up to Daniel, and you guys each have 2 minutes to give your closing statement.
First, I want to say thank you to Thunder Radio for doing this. I think people forget there's an election happening. The primaries were a pretty big deal, but you really haven't heard much about this general election. Thank you to these gentlemen for showing up, and I think they're both great guys, right? But you've got a real choice. Election voting starts tomorrow. Brandon Champion, his own signs will tell you where he stands. Coffee County Democratic Party is paid for at the bottom of all his signs. And the values that come along with that. I didn't say it, he did. So you make that choice with your eyes open. If you want someone who's going to go with the flow and give the mayor another yes vote on his affordable housing agenda, that's Mike. It's nothing personal. But know what you're getting. And if you want someone who's just as upset as you are, who isn't afraid to have those serious conversations, who sometimes you're going to get flustered with, who will get down in the dirt and who's going to fight alongside you and not try to manage you, then I'm asking for your vote. I'm Daniel Berry. I've done the job. I know how quiet it gets when it shouldn't, and I'm not going to be quiet about it. It's your roads, it's your money, it's your town. On August 6th, you get to decide who's watching over that.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Mike, you're next.
Okay, thank you. I think that the last couple of years of the BOMA, I think there's been some gridlock. And I have to go back. I mentioned that I was a navigator when I was in the Air Force a couple of years ago. And one of the things that impressed me most, or that I took from that, was the camaraderie that one develops when we work together. We had each other's back all the time, all right? I learned that camaraderie can be contagious. And I really do think that the BOMA can find things to work on that everybody, not everything, but we can find things we can all work on. We can work on together, and we can be productive, and we can rally the community support and their enthusiasm for what we're doing. And I think we will be representing Tullahoma in a positive and unified light, and I think we will be able to get more done with that approach. And thank you, and I hope to get your vote. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Mike. And Brandon, you're going to close us out.
I've been a lifelong Coffee County resident, and I love the town that I call home, Tullahoma. And anybody can talk to me. I'm pretty down to earth, and I'll talk about my issues, but I'm not going to apologize for accepting donations for people who actually like me. So that's all I got to say.
All right. Let's give them a round of applause. All right. I want to thank all of the candidates and live audience who came out tonight. It was great to have you here. Thank you to our listeners over on Facebook and Thunder Radio. Again, I'm Katie Northcott, the news director here at Thunder Radio, and this was our general election forum. You guys have a great night. Back to Thunder. you.